All right, we're ready to start part 2 of how to become a real estate investor and books that influenced me. All right, welcome to segment 2 of how to become a real estate investor, books that influenced me. And in this part 2, I'm going to talk about the books that absolutely changed my life. So stick around. I have something free for you at the end. While I've read a lot of books that made an impression on me or made me stop and think, there's about 3 books that I know changed my life. They came at the right time, they had the right message, and I'll never forget those books and what they meant to me and how I changed the minute I read them. It came at a time when I was struggling. I didn't have a college degree. I had reached my glass ceiling. Others around me were proliferating. I hadn't found myself or where I belonged. And I was starting to believe that because I didn't go to college, that's why I was having these problems. I was starting to doubt my education level. Then I read Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich was written by Napoleon Hill, and it was Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, that actually put Napoleon Hill on the map. Andrew Carnegie would use his immense power and wealth to call wealthy, successful businessmen, the wealthiest in the world, and get them to set up an appointment with Napoleon Hill so that Napoleon Hill could interview them. Andrew Carnegie was trying to find out what is the common thread that all these mega millionaires, super successful, super powerful people, what is they all have in common? For sure there must be a formula. There must be a formula because these men all have reached such heights, and if he could find that commonality, then maybe he could crack a code. Well, what the book proved was wealth and power could come from any place in the world, from people that didn't even know how to read and write. They could come from people who went to Harvard, and it could come to people that never even went to a school a day in their life. It came down to a few things, but never the same things. And among those few things was ambition and desire and drive. But short of that, it didn't matter where you were from, what language you spoke, where you went to college, it really didn't matter. In fact, sometimes coming from a wealthy family could work against you. You had it too easy and you were too soft and you never had to work for anything, so why are you going to start now? That book gave me great hope, and that was the day I started to change my life and believe in myself because I knew I had desire, I knew I had ambition, and I knew I had drive. The second book that absolutely changed my life was right about that time when I was struggling again. This book is called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It's been taken over by a lady named Somers, I think, S-O-M-E-R-S, and she's carrying on his work and doing the new edition. But the original book, Psycho-Cybernetics, was by Maltz. This guy talks about the power of the mind and how the mind works. Above everything else, what I took away from this book is I had to watch myself talk. The person that we talk to more than anybody else in the world is ourselves. We have to monitor what we are saying to ourselves because how we talk to ourselves is how we're going to be. If you do make a mistake and you call yourself stupid, you tell yourself that you're an idiot, then that's what you're going to be. You're going to be stupid and an idiot. If you make a mistake and you say, you know, that wasn't very good. I can do a lot better than that, and I will do better than that next time. Just watch and see. I will be better next time. This won't happen again. Then that's how it's going to be. We are what we think. I did another experiment myself. I did it on accident, but I did it because of Maltz. I had been collecting pictures from magazines of what I wanted my house to look like for years. I had been collecting these pictures. I had them in a place. And I had long since finished my house. But I was going through the attic and I found that book where I had been collecting pictures of what I wanted my house to look like. And as I opened up that little book and started pulling out all these torn out pages from magazines and clippings, I was amazed because everything I had put in that book was in my house. I've been building my house for over 37 years. And I was amazed to see that the things I dreamt about and that I kept in the forefront, the ones that I took time to clip the picture and keep in front of me, they all happened. Every single one of those things are in my house. Maybe not exactly, but very close. You know, he described one time those horses that we would ride, that you would pay to ride through the park. And those horses would go down to the bridge and make a right and go over the bridge. And then after the bridge, they would make a left, and then they'd go down to the tree, and then they would make a left again. They did that every single day, that same exact path. So that if you got on that horse and you went to go to the bridge, but instead of making a right to go over the bridge, you tried to get that horse to go straight or go left, it wouldn't. It wouldn't go. It would take a long time for you to teach that horse not to go right at that bridge. It would take a long time. You would have to get off that horse. You would have to take the reins. You would have to tease him with a carrot or an apple to try to get him to go a different direction. And that's the way the mind is. We've been doing things the same way, saying the same things to ourselves, and we keep going the same path. If you want to change your life, change your self-talk. And that's what I learned from Maxwell Maltz. It was completely life-altering. And I still think about him on a weekly basis. The last book I want to talk to you about that absolutely did change my life was a book called Nothing Down by Robert Allen. Robert Allen had the audacity to suggest that you could get into real estate with no money. That's right. You could be dead broke and get into real estate and make a profit and proliferate. So I'm thinking to myself, when I heard this from Robert Allen, I'm thinking, man, if you can do real estate with nothing, I got enough to buy the whole town because I am so broke. I read that book. It opened up my mind. It showed me the very beginnings of how I was going to learn to be a creative thinker and how I was going to learn how to put deals together that would only deal with what I had to deal with. If I didn't have any money, then I had to put a deal together a different way. If I only had a little bit of money, I had to do this. I would make deals however I had to make deals. And it showed me how to do it. And I became a believer. I did my first nothing down deal one day. You know what's weird is you can read about these concepts. It's really easy from my lips to say and your ears to hear. You do not need money to proliferate in the real estate investing business. It's real easy for me to say it and for you to hear it. What's really hard is to own that concept in your heart of hearts, to really own it. And for 7 years after I read that book, I really didn't own the concept. I believed, but I didn't own it. And then one day, I started to walk away from a deal because I just didn't have what the man wanted. And then I thought about Robert Allen. And he said, don't ever leave. You make the offer with whatever you have and see if it sticks. So I made a plan and I made an offer. I actually offered to buy this place with zero money down and no payments for 2 years because that's all I could offer. And the man said yes. And I made my first nothing down deal on that day, and then I owned the concept in my heart. And basically, when you don't have money, you're a professional deal finder. You're a professional contract writer-upper, if that's a word. When you don't have money, you've got to find the deal, and you've got to create the contract, and you've got to get the seller to sign it, and it's a great deal, and you have it in your hand. Because what brings the money is the deal. And that's what I learned from Robert Allen, is there were more things more powerful than money. If I have a deal to buy $1 million house for $200,000, how long do you think it's going to be before I find the $200,000? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? Not long. That's what I learned from Robert Allen, and that completely changed my life. I had the pleasure of interviewing him on my podcast, 1000houses.com podcast, and I told him, I had the pleasure, the honor to be able to tell that man to his face that he had changed my life and that I would never forget him. And he was very humble and very nice, and it was so neat to talk to my hero. It was very neat. So now for the free gift. You know, when I started this business, I knew I would fail along the way. And what I was trying to do was figure out a way that I could fail but not go under. How I could fail but still go forward. So in my book, My Life in 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom, I came up with that way, and I explain it in a chapter called The Moat Theory. So if you'll click on the link below right here, I'm going to give you that chapter for free because I think the way that I thought about it and what I was doing, it's really helped a lot of people, and I'd like it to help you if you're ready for it. So just click on that link and you'll get an immediate download of that chapter of that book. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next episode.